The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of the public access channel, the Kitty Rose Lifestyle, or the program underwriter.
So welcome. This is Gary Axelbank from This is the Bronx and Bronx Buzz, and this is the Bronx Info.
And Bronx Talk.
Thank you.
That's what most people know me from Bronx Talk.
Yes.
The TV show that I've done all those years.
All these years. So, okay, so we're gonna get right into it. One, I want to thank you. Today was not challenging, but interesting start.
It's always interesting to start. Believe me, I've been doing this a long time. It's always interesting.
Which is why I'm grateful that you were appreciative of that. But in being appreciative, how does that become challenging after so many years, or it's just like it's a part of the process and hey, here we go?
You're always interested in the final product.
Okay.
And if you are confident that you can sit down, talk to your audience, talk to usually I'm the host, and talk to my guest, or in this case, talk to the host, and answer questions properly and represent yourself and what your your concerns are, then it's not a problem.
Cool.
And so if you allow externals to get in the way, then we couldn't do such a good show, which we're going to do for you.
Yes. Last night
Yes.
I saw the debate.
Yes.
And I live in the Bronx, so I am familiar with Mr. Klein. He does all the rounds with the schools, and he was actually at Family Day in my building on Saturday.
Okay.
I brought him up because I wasn't going to, but I brought him up because voting. We're getting ready to vote.
There are a lot of people who are going to say, how come you didn't mention Alessandro Biaggi?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, yes, he is
Thank
the
you.
incumbent, and you've given him credit for many of the things that he does. But it's my job to
Yes,
be
it is.
balanced, and so certainly we only present both sides of the story on Bronx Talk, and so we did that on the debate.
But my interest really was because we are getting ready to vote.
Right.
And there's so many of us that don't vote. And there's so many of us that do vote. But my issue is most of us, from what I've seen, I could be wrong and hopefully I am, from what I've seen, we only vote every 4 years. We don't pay attention to these
the
local.
in-between.
Yes.
Well,
why is that important, do you think?
The numbers will show, and I don't have them in front of me, and I didn't know we were going there. The numbers will show that very small percentages of people come out to vote. And it's a shame because, if all politics is local, then the issues that could be voted on through the people that you elect to represent you could be the most important issues. Is this park going to be renovated? Will there be a zoning rule that will change the development in your community? Those are all coming from the local level. And so...
Why do you think that's not pushed as much? Why do you think educating people to vote in between is not as pushed? Or is that a myth that I'm not aware of?
We only have a half hour?
I know.
Well, the answer to that is over a period of years, decades, and I'll only talk from the perspective of the Bronx. I mean, there are other factors nationwide, but people have become disenfranchised. They become disenfranchised because they don't trust elected officials in general.
Okay.
Because they don't believe that, I think many people really don't believe that if they vote for this person or that person, something is going to change. They may be wrong about that, but I'm just saying what's out there. They don't believe that things will necessarily change or change for the better. And then the third thing, and this is a very complex thing, people are busy, people are working, and if you are a single parent, you have more challenges than other people could even imagine. And even if you're not a single parent, you may have two parents who are both working, and you got 2 or 3 kids, God bless them all, in your home, and they have to be cared for before school, in school, after school, at night when they're ready to do their homework, and in the morning. And if you're telling me I got to be educated and I've got to go vote and take the time out. I think you should, but I
However.
understand why people wouldn't. So the answers, and that's what I hope BronxNet Television, which takes this incredibly seriously, is contributing to, is voter education, making it so easy for you to sit in your home and flip on the television or go to the web real quick and find out who's out there. And I've spent, you know, a large part of my professional career dedicated to that. The debate you saw was the 64th debate that I have moderated on BronxNet Television. Thank you to Michael and Marissa and all the people who work at BronxNet. But in 24 years, that was my 64th.
Wow.
So we take what you asked. We take what you asked very, very seriously, because of the things that I just said. People are distracted. People have considerations in their homes. They don't have the time. And I believe, and we believe, we can empower ourselves if we make it available, make voter education available, and get people involved.
So 26 years, you say?
24 years. Bronx Talk has been on the air. It debuted in October 1994.
Wow.
I was almost the same age that I am
Right,
now.
right.
and we do 52 shows a year for
Oh,
24
my
years.
goodness.
It's crazy, more than 1,100 programs.
Get out of here. Did you always want to be in? Did you always want to be in journalism?
Absolutely not. I was a
Oh.
radio DJ
Okay.
for 15 years. I was a rock DJ. I worked for Howard Stern at one point
Okay.
in my career.
Oh.
Before he was the Howard Stern that you all know.
Oh,
modern
okay.
day.
Because I was like, that's interesting.
Uh,
Because the reason why I say interesting, because before you said he became the Howard Stern we know, that whole shock jock bringing things to that you may not normally hear.
I worked with Howard. He was the program director, and we worked at a station up in Briarcliff Manor.
Okay.
And I was one of the DJs. He was the program director. And it was just previous. He would spend his days in the production studio. We couldn't do the business of the station. He would spend his days in the production studio creating bits because he was laying
Okay.
the groundwork to going out into the world. But what I do remember, which is relevant to what you said, it was a soft rock station at
Okay.
the time. And so we didn't do any talk or anything.
Oh, okay.
But he was the program director, so he could do what he wanted.
Right.
One day he started taking phone calls from
People.
from people.
Okay.
And they weren't funny. They were just weird, almost like natural sessions, almost like slice of life. He would call the deli guy and order his lunch on the
On the
air.
air,
And it was
okay.
like really in a way the first reality
Right,
TV or radio
okay.
at that time. And that was really the beginning of what he conceived, and then ultimately, of course, became
So
king of all media.
right, but you as a journalist, kind of having that as the intro.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Can I just cut you off and
Yes,
answer the question?
yes, yeah.
When I was playing music, at that time, the DJs could play their own records. You could choose
Oh,
what
okay.
you wanted. You had they were record albums as opposed to CDs or digital files. And so you'd have a wall of records, and you would select the record, sometimes based on some framework, but you could choose the songs. So if there were a dozen songs on an album, you could say, hey, here's a rare cut.
Was there a message
Or
in the
here's-
songs you chose?
Not particularly,
Oh,
but
okay.
well, but that is a good clue. So what your job as a DJ was to reflect people's lives through the music.
Right.
It was a very creative thing.
Yes,
So
bring it,
on a
come,
day like
come.
today, we'd play Summer in the City.
Okay.
On when it was raining, we'd play Riders on the Storm or something like that. So you would reflect people's lives, and the radio would be on in the background, and then they would, oh, this is my day, and then you would tell a little story, and then
Okay.
you'd play. That same philosophy, because then when BronxNet came about and I got involved, they said, do you want to do a talk show? So
Okay.
it's the same philosophy, taking the reality of
Yes.
people's lives, me as somebody who's in the media and in the medium, and using it to help people do better. So it's not music,
Right.
but it's talk and
Right.
information. So I never was going to be a journalist, but I was always going to be that kind of communicator
Okay.
to take people from the audience, what is the reality of their lives, through some medium, whether
Okay.
it be music, information, talk, interview, and then help them do better and empower them like we try to do on Bronx Talk every
Would you
week.
do it again?
Do what again?
This would you follow? Would you go? Would
Oh,
you
it's
do
the only
that
thing I would
process?
ever do in the world. I mean, I couldn't do anything else.
So how did Buzz Talk? Well, no, not
Bronx
Buzz.
Buzz.
Bronx Buzz.
BronxNet Television opened up a new facility at Mercy College in the East Bronx, and they were looking for programming, and I was thrilled.
Okay.
Frankly, they said, "Hey, Gary, let's get Gary to do some kind of show over there."
Okay.
One of the things they wanted to do was twofold. One is engage journalists, so again, the same process, people could be informed about what was being in the newspapers, et cetera, and also, frankly, bring journalists into the new facility,
Okay.
so they'd say, "Oh wow, look at this,
Hey,
BronxNet
yeah.
has a facility over here." So it
Twofold.
would create
Right.
awareness.
Okay.
So they asked me to host it, and because I'm generally very busy, I said that's the kind of show I can do with little preparation. Because when
Okay.
I sit down, you were on it once. When I sit down with I think this week we're going to have the editor of the Riverdale Press and the editor of the Norwood News. If I sat down with them in a bar or in a coffee shop, I would have the same conversation that I have on the show. So it's kind of, I don't want to say
do.
it's easy, but it, and in a way it's natural sessions,
Yes.
so to speak.
Plug.
Absolutely. For journalists and writers and photographers and stuff. So that's how it came. Well, they did a nice job with this park. We complained about a number of things.
Did you?
Okay.
Damn,
That's
that brought
another
up some.
subject.
Yeah, that brought up something else because
Okay.
that also brought up why you have to be involved in your day-to-day politics because things that affect your neighborhood, like what's being built around you. When we came here, you gave me a vivid description of the way the park was when you were growing up,
Yes.
which is not how it looks now.
Right.
But if you weren't involved, then you would have no say-so.
It's interesting that you say that because this park, and I forgot the exact amount of money, was part of the deal to build a filtration plant not too far, right over there.
Okay.
over there,
What park are we
Bronx
in, by the
This
way?
is Fort Independence Park.
Okay.
Named
Bronx, that's what y'all do, right? Up
right,
here?
Fort Independence Park. We used to call it Pigeon Park, and I don't know if
Why?
it's because we were so bad when we would play other neighborhoods in sports that they say, "Oh, here come the pigeons," or if it's a park that happens to have a lot of
A
pigeons.
lot of pigeons.
I don't
Isn't
know,
that
but
New
we used
York?
to get our
Okay.
butts kicked a lot.
So it used to be Pigeon Park, and now it's Fort Independence.
Well, it is always Fort Independence Park.
Okay.
We call it Pigeon Park.
Okay.
But the renovation of this park was done with monies that was part of that trade-off, and the design for it was a collaborative effort between people in the community and the city, et cetera, et cetera.
That's the roundup.
I didn't have a lot of input, and I have some complaints about it, but we're not going there today. We can.
I'm sure they heard your complaints, especially.
I did. I actually toured the park with the Bronx Parks Commissioner and showed us.
Do you get like? Are you a lightweight celebrity here in the Bronx because of?
Lightweight?
Well, are you? Are you like big
I
shit?
don't weigh that
Yeah.
much.
You've
Well,
been
let's
on
put it this
air
way.
for 20-something years.
A lot of people know me and know my work.
Okay.
You try to focus on the work itself and let the measure of celebrity or notoriety or love or hate take care of itself. If you
Okay.
focus on what you do, and this is natural to me to be
Okay.
that personality, then I guess whatever. People know me. you know.
Nice.
I more hope that they watch the programs. They go to thisisthebronx.info and they help themselves and help us all do better than worry
Okay.
about me.
So that was a nice segue to This Is the Bronx Info.
Right? There you go.
So what is the Bronx
This is
info?
thebronx.info.
And then how did that even start? Because you did mention that you already have a pretty tight schedule. So now you have 2 talk shows that's on the air.
crazy.
You're still a husband. You're still a dad. How
Yeah.
did you figure
So-
out and put in a
had
running a website?
I had a full-time job, which I did for about 15 years. The job ended, and so I said to myself, "You've got this incredible resource of all these people you know.
Yes.
I've done more than 1,100 programs, which means 2,000 guests again on the show. I mean, it's crazy, and it involves every community, every issue, everything going on in the Bronx. So why not put something together that utilizes that
Okay.
resource, that helps the Bronx do better, and frankly helps me make a couple of dollars because we do sell advertising on the site. And so we came up, and here's the philosophy behind it. I've told a lot of people this, but it makes a lot of sense. You know the last time the Bronx had a daily newspaper?
I do not.
70 years ago, 1948. So you got 1.4 million people, and there's no daily newspaper.
But
Look-
do we read?
Well, that we'd like to think we
Right.
do, but still, there's value to it. Look at how big you take a city like Boston. You know how many
Okay.
people are in Boston? 600,000 people. It's half the size of the 1.4 million people in
Okay.
the Bronx. But Boston has network television, and
Yes.
ABC, NBC, CBS, and everything else. And they have daily newspapers, including the Boston Globe, one of the most famous and important
Okay.
papers in the country.
Okay.
Think of how underserved we are as far as news and information.
Okay.
And so the idea with This Is the Bronx was to fill that gap. And every day we put out Bronx news.
Every day.
We put out Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday we put out events so people can know what's going on
Okay.
in the Bronx. And what's the role of media? And that's to inform, it's to educate, to let people know what's going on in their communities, to celebrate people who are achieving. We have stories about a filmmaker, or a story about it. We put out a story just this morning about a teacher who was took a space program.
RKA,
at
my
RKA.
school,
There you
yes.
go. There you go.
Yes,
And
I had
so-
3 kids there, so
There
yeah,
you
that
go.
was cool to see.
So that's that there's great value. We don't do politics, and we
Okay.
don't do violence.
Okay.
Because I feel like
There's enough of that?
people know it's out there. They
Okay.
really want to know what's going on in their community.
Okay.
So that's how This Is the Bronx done. I have a button for you. I'm wearing a button.
I have
You're gonna-
but it's on my back.
Oh, it's on your bag. Well, I'm giving you another button.
Yes.
We just
Wait,
came out with
wait.
a new line of them. They're bigger than they
Wait,
were.
which made me feel bad because I didn't bring you a button. So,
Oh, that's
so, I
okay.
was like- so I said,
Here
I
we
have
are
to-
sharing
I
buttons
know.
in Pigeon Park.
In Pigeon Park. That sounds almost a little naughty. So has the website been challenging? Because it's a different medium. Yes, it's still information being given, but
The website has been challenging
Okay.
for one major reason.
what reason has that
And
been?
that reason is the content is a pleasure for me to do.
Okay.
Doing things like this, doing later today, I'm doing a story about a pharmacy that delivers all over the Bronx, and then I'm coming back up to the Northwest Bronx. There's a 5-year-old girl and a mother who are picking up garbage, and I'm going to walk around with them. Because
Really?
they're cleaning their neighborhood.
Okay.
That stuff is easy for
Yes.
me. Running the business of it is a challenge, and we hope as we grow, I'll bring in
How
more
old is-
people to
how
do
old
it.
is This
We
Is the
started in May of 2017.
Okay.
So in a year and 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
But we hope over the period of time we'll bring in more people, and we will be able to just do a better job
Okay.
at that as well. But I love doing it. That's the one thing that really is a challenge for me.
Okay. And I'm glad it's just the one thing because no.
There's more than that, but I only told you about one.
Okay. Okay. Well, in the challenges being more than that, I guess what outweighs all of them is the type of stories that you're able to get, the type of stories you're able to bring, like the mother and daughter thing, and
We-
like the RKA teacher.
We do a lot of research,
Okay.
and I must
and
say,
is it really all on you, or do
well,
you actually
I
have a
was
small
just going to
team?
say
Okay.
I work with interns, college
Okay.
interns. Lehman College, my alma mater, has been excellent. They've provided a number of hungry young people
Nice.
who want to learn, who want to take their time. I just use an example. One young lady has a full-time job working
Okay.
in retail downtown, but she wants to be a journalist. And
Okay.
she has improved over time. She's putting in time as an intern, and I think she has a future. But once she said to me, Gary, it's very difficult for me because I'm working and all that. And I said, I'm a Bronx boy. I know that's how the world goes, and I'm going to stay with you. Let's just be honest about what you can do and what you can't. But she's smart, and I see her developing. Those are the kinds of people I'm trying to surround myself with. Young Bronx people who want to learn and want to do better, and help us all do better.
Amen. You said I'm a Bronx boy.
I am.
And you said that with such pride. And I haven't been able to feel that connection to the Bronx. 'Cause, I'm from Brooklyn, but I do,
won't hold it against you. I'm sorry.
But I do notice that everyone is very territorial about where they're from in New York.
Yeah.
We're very like, I'm from the Bronx. I'm from Brooklyn. Why is the Bronx so underrated?
Well,
Or
undiscovered.
undiscovered,
I call it undiscovered.
not acknowledged.
That's an interesting question. I guess you have to look at when Howard Cosell in 1978 or 77 during the World Series, they had the overhead shot at Yankee Stadium and he said the Bronx is burning. So it was very easy for people to write the Bronx off. And you can't deny systemic racism, and so that the Bronx has been predominated by people of color, and so they get, from a national and societal perspective, they get kind of passed over. And in addition, the Bronx there's no denying the Bronx has had problems in healthcare and drug abuse and gang violence and all those things. So that's the reputation that has really laid that out and contributed to this fact of the Bronx, but and in fact, who is it, James Thurber, who wrote The Bronx, No Thonks, which has been debunked and debased by now.
But you have testimony because you not only was raised here, but you raised your family here.
Oh,
your children.
Those kinds of things don't come from me, they come from the outside. Listen, I will tell you what I remember having done what I do for a very long time. And I don't know what year, I'd have to look it up. Freddie Ferrer, when he was the borough president, did a campaign, and I remember the press conference when he announced it. It was under the L at Yankee Stadium, right at the number 4 train, and he had a big poster that said, "Don't dump on the Bronx," and it was a picture of garbage going into a trash basket. And that was, to me, the first time that it was stated to everybody in the borough, enough is enough.
Okay.
We know what you think about us.
Okay.
It happens to, some of it is not true.
Wow.
Some of it is, and that built up all the way through the years to now, when everybody has finally, I think, not only heard the message, but embraced the message and said, we are great. We have incredible culture. We have incredible art and music. Well, I mean, the best example was what happened at Lincoln Center just the other day. Bobby Sanabria, who is
the West Side Story
the West Side Story reimagined, and what Bobby did with his multiverse band, they reimagined a West Side Story, probably the world's greatest musical about the Jets and the Sharks. That's it, exactly. But they reimagined it in a modern way.
Okay.
So that, and they took music from cultures all over the world and said, what I like to say, this is the Bronx. This is who we are.
Okay.
This is New York City.
Okay, yes.
And so you can reinterpret one of the great musical pieces in our vernacular, using music from Latin American countries. And they just played a show last week at Lincoln Center.
Okay.
We had it on This Is the Bronx. I did a thorough review. And that's how a lot of people found out. So to me, that was a stake in the ground expression of this is who we are in the Bronx, and this is how we see our future. And I couldn't find another way to define it. There are many little ways to define it, but I couldn't find a better general way to define it than that great moment.
So, are we near retirement yet?
Well, I got to make a little more money before.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it has occurred to me, but I'm young, I'm healthy.
Yes.
Why wouldn't I? And I'm passionate about what I do.
Okay.
So I suppose you could consider it, but if I said I was retired, retired, I would still do the same stuff that I do.
Because you could.
Yeah, because this is what I do.
My favorite anchor or journalism, what is it, Andy Rooney from 60 Minutes?
He's long gone.
Right,
but
yes. Then he was like 100 before he stopped doing his
that's
Sunday morning
what I mean.
broadcast.
I mean, I don't see any reason to want to stop doing what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. And frankly, every day, including today, my phone rings more and more with people who are saying, hey, Gary, could you cover this? Or, I heard you might do this. Could we get on your show? And that comes in by the box full all the time. And I try to accommodate as many as I can.
You did, because I didn't know.
Here we are.
I had to call you only, one or two times, one time to get on your show, and you
because,
booked it.
Because there's two things about that. One is, if you look at the Bronx Buzz, I mean, we do 52 a year. Two guests a show, that's 104 guests.
Yes, but
that's a lot of guests.
I have been on other Bronx, let me not say.
Go ahead.
I have been on other Bronx Night shows that didn't necessarily follow up as quick. as you did. So it was quite refreshing.
I-
Because when I called you and was like, I haven't gotten a call from your producer, you was like, wait, hold up, wait a minute. I don't know what you did.
Well, but
It made it
because I
happen.
know that we need guests,
Right.
and if you turn people away, then what is the value of being a broadcaster on a community station?
Amen.
I mean, you know, a lot of people use their positions in media to not communicate. I don't really view it like that. I'll give you an example. My son is a TV news reporter in a much, not larger than the Bronx, but in a large market. He works at a network station. And I told him, and he agrees, I said, you answer every call. Every kid that wants an internship, everyone who wants advice. And I know he does, and it's no big deal. He, you know, he has more viewers than I do, probably in one day than I've had total, which is, you know, completely fine. And I'm sure that he receives everybody, requests from schools, he goes, he reads to kids, he goes to high school, he participates in charities, and it hasn't affected his life negatively in one way. The one way it's affected his life positively, he's building community, he's
Amen.
building an
Yeah.
audience, and he's making his life better. I taught him that because I believe it, and that's what I do every day.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Well, I thank you for
That's it.
joining us. Yeah, that's it.
You know, everybody
But
everybody who leaves Bronx Talk, they say to me, "That's it." So now I feel the same way. That's it.
You know what? Because it flows so easily, you
'Cause it's
don't
a natural
realize.
session. It's a
Yes.
natural session.
And you don't
understand?
realize how fast that the time
Yes, of
goes.
course.
You know, but I wanted to have you for a number of reasons. I wanted to have you because you are a staple here in the Bronx, and I'm so against the Bronx. So for me,
Wait, against the Bronx? What did
because
you
I'm
mean
from
by that?
Brooklyn.
Oh.
But for me and for folks but for me and folks like me, I think it's important to have more Bronx nights. Is that what y'all call yourselves? Bronx nights or Bronx community
Oh,
leaders.
Bronxites.
Bronxites, you know, come and share their success.
represent.
And
We
represent.
represent.
Yeah,
That's
and
what we
represent
do.
and
We
let
represent.
and let folks know that even people in the Bronx are doing some things, and you don't have like a
We're doing
short
some things.
agenda or a short list of things that you're doing, even though we just talked about three.
1.4 million
What? But
people.
tell
man.
'em.
It's the 8th largest city, or
Tell
6th
'em.
largest city in the nation. Bronx Talk on BronxNet
But again,
television.
you mentioned 52 weeks.
Oh yeah, we do it all every week. We do a show. Bronx Talk on BronxNet television, Bronx Buzz on BronxNet television, and this is the Bronx.info, which is our
Woo.
website. That's what I work on 24 hours a day, 7 days. Thank you so much, Kat, for having me.
Yes, thank you. That's it.
Got a man, I'ma fall back. You just saying like in your day. Gave him all that you and now you stuck it, try to get your heart back. Don't know if I do fake it or watch it, sometimes I saw that.
Welcome to Dining with Diplomats, the show that travels the globe without leaving town.